Hi, welcome back to Quarter Life Conversations. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about online hate and online racism. And we just feel like this topic is more relevant than ever, like in an age where our algorithms are making us more divided and polarized. So in this episode, we're going to start by talking about our own personal experiences with online hate and kind of how race ties into that. And then we're gonna talk about how does the internet breed division and what kind of strategies we have to alleviate some of that. And lastly, we're gonna bring it back full circle and we're gonna talk about the Bad Bunny Super Bowl performance. This was Sean's idea. It's gonna be super interesting. It is related. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So I think we can start. Yeah. And we have our very first guest ever on our Quarter Life Conversations podcast. So Theo, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself? Who are you?
How you know us?
Yeah. And what you've been up to. Yeah.
Sure. So I'm Theo. I currently live in London. I've been in the UK for 4 years now. I met these two imbeciles in I've known you guys since Since kindergarten? I've been in Mac in kindergarten. Early. I've been in Mac since I was 3. When did you move?
Mac's our high school, yeah.
Since age 3, yeah.
Were you in kindergarten?
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, I don't know if we knew each other. Yeah, but we were very young when we all started hanging out.
No, we weren't. I only acknowleded you when we were like
older. Okay, fine.
Yeah, when
fine,
we were like in 10th.
Well, maybe for me the friendship started way later than it actually did.
Yeah, we got closer to the end. I think.
Yeah, like when we were doing A levels and stuff. Yeah. That's because there was no other choice.
Yeah, we kind of forced to.
Yeah. It was like forced proximity is how we became friends.
Yeah.
So
in terms of I guess a little bit of background. I guess Theo, you can kind of go into where we are all from, like why there's 3 of us that look kind of different, but we're all from the same place, and where we're from actually. I guess break it down for the peeps.
If you guys are not all aware, we are from Macau, which is a very small, special administrative region in China, very close to Hong Kong. I think that's something that a lot of us, literally everyone from Macau, has to go through when you explain where you're from to anyone that is not from Macau or from the Asia region. Even some Asians don't know where Macau is. I think I've met some Indians or some Pakistanis that have no idea where Macau is.
Yeah.
And yeah, we all grew up there. It's a very multicultural city. It was colonized by the Portuguese, so we've got a lot of Portuguese influence. I remember when I went to Lisbon a couple years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, this is giving old Taipa. This is giving Macau. And then we went to an international school. We speak Chinese. Well, some of us speak Chinese. Some of us are learning to speak Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting because Macau is it's in China, but it's it's a melting pot of nationalities and cultures, right? So it's a very unique place. That's why the best way I kind of describe it is a mini Hong Kong right next to Hong Kong, because it's just a blend of so many different cultures, nationalities. Obviously the local presence is very strong, right? Chinese. But there's so many different expat groups, etc. So it's it creates a really unique environment, right? So I would say, would you agree that from young we were very exposed to different cultures, races, etc. So it was almost I guess you were in these big cities where you're exposed to so many people. Obviously there can be circumstances with racism, etc. But there's also this overall understanding I've been exposed to this kind of race, etc., rather than imagine being from I don't know the middle of nowhere in Poland or something and just never seeing anybody else you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, bro.
There's a lot of exposure. Yeah.
I think Macau I definitely I think we would all recommend you guys to if you can go check out Macau. I think it is definitely a place of really unique cultural heritage. I think the Chinese Portuguese hybridization is really interesting, especially in the architecture as well. Macau is a really culturally interesting place to be. And maybe do you guys want to talk a bit about like your own kind of racial background as well?
Sure.
I think that would be a good segue as well.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Indian. I'm from my family's from a place called Goa.
Wow.
I was born and raised in Macau. And yeah, Goa. I'm not too sure if if too many people know like where it is, but Goa is another spot like Macau. It used to be an ex-Portuguese territory. So there was a lot of links from Goa between people in Goa and Macau, just like how there was a lot of links between people in Portugal and Macau, Mozambique and Macau, everywhere that I guess has Portuguese heritage. Macau was kind of like the that one spot where there was it was a mixing pot for all these different places, and Goa was one of them. So my family moved over, and my sister and I were born in Macau. So that's a little bit of like a background of me. Theo, take the stage.
So I know I may not look very racially ambiguous, but I'm...
What are you?
Oh, what am I? I was born in Beijing in China, and that's because my mother is Chinese. So I'm half Chinese and I'm half Togolese. Togo is also a very small country in Africa, in West Africa. Lots of people do not know where that is either. So explaining my ethnicity has been a very challenging process that I've had to hone. Oftentimes I just tell people that I'm American and they'll believe it and just call it a day, because my accent is very American. I don't know where I get my accent from. So I was born in Beijing. I moved to Macau when I was like maybe 2 years old. So the first 2 years of my life I never spoke a word of English. Like I was a black baby speaking Chinese. And then my brother was born in Macau. So I think he's definitely less like confused about his identity than I am.
Interesting.
He's he was brought up in Macau and all of his friends were Chinese. I don't know, he was never really confused about it. I think when I was growing up, it was very, I never really clocked that I was black as well. Like being in my year especially, I think I was the only black girl. So I didn't really have that much exposure to African culture and stuff. And definitely I've had, like my god brother, he's also Blasian. He's also half Guinea-Bissauan and half Mongolian. So it was really nice to have that, so to me that was normal. Like I didn't think there was anything different. I think only when I moved abroad that it became such a big deal.
Yeah.
Like what I was and like where I was from. And it's kind of like an exotic mix, and people get really fascinated about it for some reason.
Do you think that's because like you didn't even think it was a thing, was because there was so much different like mixing of ethnicities and cultures in Macau, or do you think it's because of the fact that you are half Chinese?
I think it's the fact that I'm half Chinese. Like I know you say like, oh, Macau, there's a lot of race and nationalities there. I never really like saw that. I was never like, oh my god, Macau had so many, black people, Chinese. Like to me, Macau was just Macau, and like you'll meet a bunch of people there. I think it's more because the people that I hang out with and the people that I surround myself with are Chinese or Asian, or like Asian adjacent. Like they're most of them are half Chinese and half white. None of them are ever like fully white or anything like that. Well, except for Matt. But
shout out Matt.
Shout out Matt Mateus, who's a married man now. And then like at home we speak Chinese. At school, like all my friends are Chinese. Most of my friends are Chinese. Yeah. So I never really thought that.
Okay, do you wanna touch on yours?
Yeah. So I'm probably not as interesting as these other two, but I mean, my parents were from China, so they moved to Macau, and I was born in Macau, and I guess I never, maybe unlike them, I never really felt out of place in Macau because everybody looked like me. So I think I never really had to question or think too much about my own racial background. I think the only thing maybe that I kind of had to wrestle or think about was I guess maybe the distinction between like, and I'm wondering if you guys like resonate or like you've heard about this, but like kind of being Chinese and also being identifying being Chinese and identifying being from Macau. So I kind of like And also maybe because back in the day, like maybe I was a bit more whitewashed as well. So I kind of,
Were you?
I think so. Like I didn't have the best view of China, I think, in the past, or I would have a negative association with China.
Yeah, because you know what I've noticed is that
Yeah.
you compared to all the other Chinese students in our grade, like Macanese students, like people
Uh-huh.
from Macau that are Chinese.
Yeah.
You are so different.
I've definitely been westernized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because even the way you speak and your accent is so not the way that they would speak.
Yeah.
Like very
No
different.
Asian accent.
Yeah, and you
Very-
have a very American accent.
Very, yeah. Actually, yeah, my friend, because we're in the UK right now, and my friend, like, he was tuning into the podcast, and he said, like, I didn't realize how American you
Me
sounded
too.
until on the podcast. But like, yeah, that distinction between being from China and being ethnically Chinese, but also being from Macau. I think people in Macau, like, we kind of like to identify as, like, we would say we're from Macau, right? We wouldn't say we're from China. And I think now it's a bit better for me. Like, I don't like I've been privileged to, like, be able to go to China and actually see what it's like for myself, and so, like, I actually have a positive view of China now. So I'm not ashamed that I'm Chinese.
But why would you have been?
I think it's just back then, like, I think I had negative connotations about China.
Preconceptions.
Yeah, and then I think being kind of westernized, like, maybe I think that kind of had that influence on me. But I think now it's like, it's not something I'm ashamed of, but I think, like, even then, like, if somebody asked me where I'm from, I would say, like, yeah, I'm from Macau. I wouldn't say I'm Chinese.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
I think that's because being from Macau, it's like a specific place, right? Like, it's like saying you're from Goa. But I think sometimes there's an issue with, like, sometimes people from Macau and Hong Kong, they don't, at least from what I've observed, they don't want to identify. They want to identify as being from Macau and Hong Kong as if that's, like, the ethnicity separate
Yeah.
to Chinese.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
It is,
yeah.
though.
That's kind of what I'm trying to. Yeah.
But it's the same ethnicity. Like,
Well, yes,
like,
technically-
everybody in Macau and Hong Kong, their family ties back to China.
Yeah, for sure. But then there's
Yeah.
a reason why their passports are different, and that's why, like, and the culture and everything is so different. Like, people from Hong Kong are so different from people from Macau.
100%. Yeah.
And that's what I've noticed. Like, every time I meet someone from Hong Kong and I tell them that I'm from Macau, I would say that there's, like, I would say, how do I put this in a non-polarizing way? But it seems like they have their nose up a little bit. Like, they think Hong Kong, out of all the SARs, they're the best ones. And Macau is like I've had a friend who's from Hong Kong say that Macau is a village compared to Hong Kong. And I'm like, it's not, though. Like, I wouldn't say Macau is, like, a big metropolitan city like Hong Kong or London is, but it's definitely not a village.
It's got its unique thing. It
Yeah.
has, like, the Kozai Strip and everything, right?
Yeah, I think Macau's getting better nowadays.
Oh, yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
100%.
Definitely.
But I think that's interesting that you brought up, like, preconceptions, right? That you had initially, because we do want to kind of lead into, like, online
Yeah.
narratives and
Yeah,
preconceptions about places.
So I think we talked a lot about, like, you know, our own racial background and
Yeah.
kind of the background on, like, a bit about who we are, right? And I kind of want to you're right. I think we kind of want to bring this back to the idea of online toxicity and online racism. So I kind of want to give you guys a quote to kind of contextualize our discussion. So this is from Amnesty International, which is a social justice organization, and they said this. So women of color, and then Black, Asian, Latin, and mixed race are 34% more likely to be mentioned in abusive or hostile content online than white women. Now, so I mean, I think first of all, like we're not trying to downplay the experiences of white women or white people, but I think what's interesting to me about this quote is that online hate is not distributed evenly, and actually a lot of the times it has to do with race. So maybe we can touch a bit on that, about maybe our own personal experiences and encounters with online hate and racism online, and maybe how that kind of factors into our own racial background.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think I'm probably seemingly out of everyone here, I've noticed this the most, but I think it is a general sentiment that's found, like, pretty common online now, where it's just becoming common to just have hate, right? So maybe even outside of race talks, like nowadays the majority of comments you see when somebody puts out a piece of art or anybody just does anything online is just negative, right? It's just that's what sells nowadays. So in terms of like online narratives and race, I feel like in line with the quote, I feel like I've personally noticed that there's just a rise in terms of like negative sentiment towards certain ethnic groups. Me for one, speaking as an Indian man, like I do, there is a lot of like negative just narratives around India and that's just one group. Obviously, this kind of negative sentiment and hate online is directed towards multiple groups, right? We see the anti-immigration kind of pushes here and there online, and not to kind of say that we sit on one side of the fence versus the other. It's just no matter what side of the fence you sit, there's a way to go about it, right? And hate is just never the way. So I think it's interesting how this is happening now and how there's so much. It just seems like the internet is becoming like a very dark place. In terms of like the narratives it actually sets out. Like, I was talking to one of my friends about this, where it's like, if you let's say we're in Manchester right now, right? Let's say Manchester let's just assume like it's the safest place in the UK, and this last year there were just 3 stabbings, and everywhere else in the UK there's hundreds, right? Or thousands, whatever. Manchester is just 3, but there are clips produced of these stabbings, and there's a viewer from another country viewing their social media, and they get pushed the first video of the stabbing. They're like, oh wow, there's a stabbing in Manchester, that seems dangerous. Okay, maybe it was a one-off. They get pushed the second video in the span of a day or a week, etc. They're like, hold on, this is all happening quite often in Manchester, and they get pushed the third. All of a sudden, like, even if there's not a conscious bias, subconsciously they're being programmed to think, hold up, Manchester seems to be one of the most dangerous places in the UK. But whereas if you zoom out context-wise and you actually compare the numbers, it's the safest based on like stabbings in this in this example. So it just brings to light the necessity nowadays more than ever to kind of to zoom out of social media. Social media is not real. I've always not always, but I've come to this conclusion that don't have very little regard for realness coming from social media, because it's like you said, like an echo chamber, right? If you want to paint a false narrative, you show something enough to people, there will be people who believe it, right? And it's all about like controlling perceptions nowadays. So yeah, like with that example, it may not even be a true narrative, but if you consume it frequently enough, there are subconscious biases that occur. You start thinking in a certain way. So I would really urge everyone to kind of just be cautious with what you believe online. Be cautious with the biases you come up with online. But I have been talking for a little bit. I want to kind of hear our guests' thoughts on this. Have you noticed like anything like this online or trends like this? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
So I'm not gonna lie. I like when you were explaining to me the basis of this podcast and online hate and stuff. I don't see it as much as you guys do, and I wanted to touch on a little bit about what you said about India and stuff, which I agree there is a lot of misconception about the living and just the stereotypes that you see in India, like street food and stuff like that, because that does get pushed out a lot. But I do think that it's worth noting that a lot of people, especially on TikTok now, that is, everyone's on TikTok, and people are posting about their lives in India. Like, there's this really popular creator that has been posting her lunch every day, her tiffin lunch boxes every day, and it's garnered a lot of attention and support.
That's crazy that you know tiffin.
Yeah, right? Like, I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for content creators from all over the world posting stuff like that. And then there was a recent I think Tyler did a concert in India, in Mumbai, and they were all surprised that, wow, like, these people dress really nice and they actually look really good. Well, obviously, that's, to me at least, that's something that is logical. Like, you would assume that in every parts of the world there are people that have the same privileges as first world countries, right? So I think that as well, like, having social media is also a good thing to spread awareness or just make it more like normalized. You can see that as well in Nigeria. Like, what's his name? He did a stream. He's a really popular guy. and another guy.
Speed.
Yes.
Yeah.
He went all over Africa, right? And people were saying like, oh, this is good because the propaganda that the West is portraying of Africa is that they're still poor, they're still backwards, like they're not developed whatsoever.
Yeah.
But on the stream, like he showed that actually Nigeria is quite up and coming and stuff like that. Like I just watched a video that said, I think in Guangzhou there was 300,000 Africans living in Guangzhou. Like it's like little Africa, and they were all comparing like Guangzhou and China to be a more developed version of Nigeria, which like in China is already very, very, very developed. So you can just imagine like a more developed Nigeria. That Nigeria is quite developed already.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting though, what you brought up, because like it just goes to show like the internet and social media, it's not inherently like bad, right? It's just how people use it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I think you're definitely right, because in terms of algorithms, I think the way it works is that usually the negative things gain more attention, right?
Yeah.
Like those are usually the things that become viral. So in a sense, like even if there are people like pushing positive content about India or Nigeria, and there's people pushing negative content, usually it is still the more negative stuff that gets pushed forward, just because of the way the algorithm works. And also like what we touched on last episode, right, about how our brain remembers or reacts more to negative things than positive things. And so in a way, the algorithm does push that negative content forward.
I think with my experience on social media with regards to racism and like online hate isn't as explicit. It's more like, for example, if a content creator comes up with an idea and she's black or she's a person of color, it doesn't gain a lot of traction online. But if a white person takes that idea and posts it and makes the same content, it all of a sudden blows up. And I feel like that's the question that people have, like, why is it that when a white person does something that a black person comes up with, it becomes more popular, more digestible, I guess, to the public. And that is where I think that's where the implicit bias lies. It's that you don't attach value to someone's creativity if they're not white. And maybe that's where the hate's coming from. I don't know. Like I don't see explicit hate saying like, oh, these people are black, that's why they're causing trouble in our country and stuff like that. Well, obviously now with ICE in America, there's a lot of discourse on that, but then there's also a lot of support for the people of color and for the Latinos in the country. So I think it just depends on your algorithm and what's pushing for you, because I don't see that much online hate.
What do you guys think that then if like we go about this like holistically and we say like, so we know that algorithms push negative stuff, maybe there's inherent biases, right? What would you say is a healthy framework to approach social media, knowing that sometimes these false narratives, etc., get pushed? Because Theo, you mentioned like, you said like, as a logical person, I see these stuff and I know that there's a deeper level to a country like than just what they're portraying as a negative, right? I guess like maybe build on that a little bit. Like what kind of frameworks would you say are helpful for people to kind of approach social media in a way where they aren't subconsciously programming negative biases that can hold them back in life? What do you guys think?
I think education is very important.
Okay.
I think the majority of people that ingest material on social media, they don't understand that you also have to be able to think critically about things. Like
100%.
I definitely was like that in the past. Like growing up, I was very susceptible to, and I was very naive to believing things online. You know, there was a phase on social media where all like, especially like with relationship advice, they were pushing out very toxic ways of viewing relationships, and then you believe that, you think that, oh yeah, I should be like that, when you like, if you don't have the ability to think like, is this right, is this like, what would the other person think and stuff like that, I think that's really important. A lot of people online are very ignorant. They're not willing to take that extra step to do more research and to avoid being like misinformed. I think that's really important. But unfortunately, the majority of the people don't really care to be educated enough to like, or like don't really care to put in that effort to be educated
before drawing a conclusion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a problem that I have, is that because I believe that I'm not educated enough to acknowledge or to have an opinion about certain topics, I will absorb the information and be like, oh, okay, this person is saying this polarizing opinion. I kind of agree, but let me look at the comments first to see if I agree. And then I'll look at it and be like, oh, wait, actually, maybe that's not the right take to have. And then I'll look at and then eventually I just get confused about, and I don't know how to think and stuff like that. And I think that's also a bit of a problem. Like, I think you just need to approach things with an open mind and don't be so easily swayed by things that you see online.
Yeah.
100% agree.
And I mean, like, also, like, being aware of how the algorithm works, right? Like, I mean, the stuff that you watch, and if you stay watching it, then the algorithm is going to push more of that same kind of content to you. And that's how echo chambers form.
Yeah.
And so, like, be aware of that. Like be aware that you could be in that potential echo chamber. And also, I think, like, you touched on something interesting, is that I think people are a little bit uncomfortable to step out of, I guess, their own worldviews or their own bubbles, because it is uncomfortable, right? For example, if you're religious, for example, you might be less willing to watch content from maybe atheists, because maybe if something they say resonate with you, then it's like, wait, my worldview is shattering.
Yes.
And so I think like, but you do have to kind of have to step out of that a little bit. Otherwise, you will just be stuck in that echo chamber, right?
100%.
Definitely. And I think, like, I don't know if you guys have seen that recent clip that's going viral, maybe not for you guys, but Timothée Chalamet recently did an interview with someone where he was talking about his movie, like Marty Supreme and stuff, and he was talking about his artwork and everything like that.
Yeah.
But then he made a comment saying that he didn't want to work in ballet or opera because he doesn't want to work in something that nobody cares about, that it's a dying art form and stuff like that. Like, no one really cares about it and stuff. And then the people from the ballet and opera world took that clip and ran with it. They're like, oh, you think ballet and opera is a dying art form? Oh, look at this. And I agree with 100% with everything that they're saying. Like, as someone that is, a classical pianist and does ballet and stuff, 100% agree. Like, I don't think ballet is, anyway, besides the point. But what they don't realize is that clip was taken out of context because Timothée was actually saying that he wanted movies to be, like, still accessible, because nobody's going to watch, like, cinema anymore. They're not going to cinema. Everything's streaming online and stuff, like with Netflix and what was it, MGM?
You mean streaming services?
Yeah.
Hulu, all those.
Yeah,
Prime.
Someone bought it, and now most movies that are like blockbusters are going to be available for streaming on Netflix. And, like, he was saying that he didn't want movies to be as like inaccessible as ballet and opera, where you have to pay like £100 for a ticket to go watch it, and it's like classified as like, oh, really, he wants it to be an art form that people can just go and watch and enjoy and stuff. Which it's still like I wouldn't say a hot take, but it's still definitely a take. But that's another example of people wanting to just grab onto the most, like, hottest take and then argue against it, like,
taking things out of context.
Exactly.
And also because they know that would create, like, it would be viral, right? Because it's something negative, it's something like crazy when it's taken out of context.
It almost, like, the algorithms almost incentivize finding something negative about whatever you're talking about. Which is kind of a scary world. But it's kind of like that's what we were saying, like, you have to be so, you have to just critically think about what you're consuming.
Exactly. Have you heard of GB News?
No.
So I've been getting a lot of their content on my TikTok, on my For You page, and I was very confused why. And I was like, oh, great, news. I love listening to the news and getting my news off of TikTok. So I watch it, and then GB News comes up, and I'm like, okay, great, it's just some sort of news. But then the stuff that they were saying, they were like, oh, and because they are very pro-reform. They're like Reform UK. And I was wondering, why am I getting this? Why am I getting so many clips off of GB News? it's very clear that the stuff that I interact with on TikTok is very left leaning and very like you know, not to get political, but you know, like very very left leaning, right?
Yeah.
So I was very confused why I was watching it, and I was like, okay.
Like why are they pushing this?
Yeah, because they're
Yeah.
pushing for a UK version of ICE here, and it was very prevalent and very like they're talking about how stupid Keir Starmer is and stuff like that, which, you know, like he has his own issues, but it was very pro reform and talking about how much they love Nigel Farage, but I never interacted with anything to do with the Reform Party, so I was very confused why I kept getting that.
Oh, push,
Yeah, and then I was speaking to a friend about it, and he was like, "Oh my god, I keep getting it too." So I think something's happening.
No, there's definitely that's so good a point you bring, because I watched these like videos on it, and it's like, who knows, like these companies that run these accounts, right? Like, yeah, it's just interesting how like these big players these big countries might actually be more in control of what we consume every day than we actually even realize, right? Or we might be just consuming stuff they're purposely trying to get us to consume.
You never know.
Yeah, so it's just again, it all just ties into just
be careful out there, guys.
Think critically when you're online.
Don't be dumb.
And be careful with what you're consuming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't blindly believe in yourself.
Yeah. So I guess like to kind of bring this topic to a more like relevant event. What we're talking about now in terms of Bad Bunny, right? His performance at the Super Bowl. And yeah, like obviously
maybe give some background on like to those that don't know what happened.
Yeah. So there was like a lot of like online hate against Bad Bunny taking up the Super Bowl because he was going to perform in Spanish, and obviously there's a lot of like anti-immigration and sentiment in the U.S. right now. Like Latinos, etc. all get like a lot of them are getting targeted by this kind of like hate. And so for Bad Bunny to get the Super Bowl and to do it in Spanish, like not even English, was like kind of like a statement. And he is Bad Bunny is vocal in his views against ICE and how his views against Trump, etc. So for him to get the Super Bowl, it was like it caused a lot of tension with like the far conservative side in America. But I guess how he did his performance, etc. It was very cool, and I kind of want to throw it to Theo here because you watched it, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So like, did you like what kind of like, I guess, what were your thoughts on it? Did you know like the context behind it before he performed it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew there was a lot of discourse about why Bad Bunny was the person to do the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And
to me personally, I think like I don't know much about the Super Bowl. I don't know how like why it's such a big. I mean, I get why it would be such a big deal to Americans and stuff, but it's also just a performance, and there've been many different performances that have been done. And I also just don't know why it's such a big deal that Bad Bunny did the performance. He's another like very popular artist, very popular in America as well. Like he literally won Album of the Year for the Grammys, and there's a reason why, because it's good music. Like I don't think music has to be in English for it to be enjoyable, right? So I just didn't really understand the sentiment, and people were saying that it's because he's not American, but he's literally Puerto Rican, and that's in America.
So you're saying you don't understand why like people were hating on him like so much?
Yeah, pretty
like,
much.
It was like quite undeserved. You feel like?
No, I wouldn't. Undeserved. But it's more like I don't understand it. Maybe it's because they don't want a non-American or a Latino person performing.
It's just far right racism.
Yeah.
That's all it is. But I mean, that's not hard to understand, right? Like
it's not. I know it's not.
Yeah, but like so with that context, basically, he came out. He did his performance fully in Spanish. And he basically, it was super cool. He built out his whole set in terms of like locations and vibes and just in terms like very common in Puerto Rico, and just kind of like showing the culture like of where he's from. And yeah, I think it was really like authentic and cool, and to like in the middle of all that hate, like to stand up on where you're from and your identity even more. I think that was super like inspiring and cool to see, and it's like it's more so like a statement for the time more so than ever, where there's so much online hate towards different groups, ethnic groups, genders, etc. now in the world. That was like a statement to like, when there's so much negativity coming at you, stand on who you are even more. That's the only way to kind of negate all this hate, is to fight it with love yourself, your culture, love other people. And yeah, that was the overall sentiment, right? And
Whoa, whoa.
that was the overall sentiment of the performance. And later on, and as he ended, he started naming all the countries in South America, and he included the U.S. and Canada, and he said we are all Americans, we're all part of this
the Americas.
yeah. And it was a really powerful message, because like, yeah, just in the face of so much hate, like to stand up with like that much pride and just promoting love, I guess it's like, it's cool.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
And I also think like you can draw a parallel to Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance as well, because there wasn't much hate on him doing the performance, but rather that there was hate on the actual performance, because it was very, I wouldn't say revolutionary, but it was very like critical of the current government. So that is also people didn't really like the message that he was sending with it. I think that was definitely more in your face than Bad Bunny's. But Bad Bunny is just more, his performance was more appreciating his culture and not backing down, not accepting the hate that he's receiving from being an American citizen, and performing for just being who he is, right? And I think what Kendrick Lamar was doing was, what's the word? Going against the current regime and like acknowledging and like trying to show people that it's not getting better. It's in fact getting worse and worse. And so I think that's quite like a cool thing to think about, especially if you're thinking about like Super Bowl performances and why it's such a big deal to the Americans. I guess it's because it's so televised. And that it has a lot of influence on the people that watch it.
Yeah, and I think for me, like, I mean, I don't know too much about the Super Bowl and like the whole performance, but yeah, I think to me, like, what I really respected was that, the fact that like he is able to lift himself up without putting other people down. So he is embracing his culture without bad mouthing like the Americans or the people that were hating on him.
Oh yeah, that's a good
So
point.
I think to me that was like a really good, like a strong message, like not to fight evil with or hate with hate, right? But just to
Did
respond
you see
with
there were people that were at the Super Bowl that were watching the alternative Super Bowl performance?
Oh yeah,
I thought that was insane.
What was the alternative?
I don't really know. I think it was like a very white like Trump MAGA group. They're very well-known artists, but I don't actually know.
I think there was like a alternate show going on while Bad Bunny was performing, and I think there was a artist, if I'm not mistaken, it was Kid Rock.
Was it?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And basically people who were like against Bad Bunny performing, they were advising them to switch off the Super Bowl at that time and switch onto this alternate show. It was super interesting to see that.
I thought that was hilarious. Like these people really go out of their way to, to like incite hate.
Yeah.
Pretty much the opposite.
Well, push love.
Push love.
I guess the message, the overall message is, be aware, be educated, and love.
Yeah. I think that's a good point to kind of wrap this kind of little episode we had with our first guest.
We hope this conversation was valuable to you guys listening, and we want you guys to be part of the conversation as well. So leave a comment down below what kind of resonated with you guys, and what kind of patterns of online hate do you guys see online as well. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and a subscribe as well. That would be really helpful for us. And thank you for watching, and peace.